Hey, welcome to the Honey and Harry Show. I'm Honey.
And I'm Harry.
And today we have a special guest. I've been knowing her my whole life. Janet Poche. This is my Aunt Susan's sister and Patrick's sister. Patrick Reynolds. I know a lot of y'all know Patrick. He actually had reached out to me and said, I have the perfect guest. And she has worked at the World War II Museum for 12 years.
12 years.
And she has volunteered. So she's going to tell us all about that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Well, good. So my first question is, why did you want to start volunteering there?
Well, I attended a dinner performance at the Stage Door Canteen, and there were volunteer cards at the table. And I thought, I may fill one of these out. I was an empty nester. My kids had headed off to school. They were getting married. And I thought, well, I'll see what it's all about. And I thought, I'm a teacher. I like history. This might be a great place to volunteer. And my work schedule changed. So I had some free time.
Absolutely. Well, it's super cool. I was telling her earlier, I've been twice, but the two times I've been, I was on field trips. And everybody knows when you're on a field trip, you really don't get to see a whole lot of, I saw it, but I'm counting heads constantly. But kind of tell us a little bit about the museum, because I feel like we need more people to, especially, you don't want to forget about this. It's such an important.
It is very important.
It's so important, and especially nowadays.
Well, it's a tremendous asset to the city, and that was another reason to volunteer, because it really was such a great landmark other than, Bourbon Street. This museum is, TripAdvisor has us ranked in the top 5 museums in the country, and we're ranked internationally. It's a 7-acre campus.
Oh my gosh.
So that has 6 different buildings. It's amazing. It was originally the D-Day Museum. It opened on D-Day, June 6th, 2000. So next year's a big year, the 25th anniversary. This year was a big year in Normandy, 80 years of D-Day, but it's 25 years for the museum next year. And we have Super Bowl coming, so 2025 will be a big year for the museum. And in 2004, it changed from the D-Day Museum to the National World War II Museum, because it gave us an opportunity to highlight all the encompassing battles, not just D-Day, not just that Normandy invasion.
So, like, when you go around, I can remember going around with the kids and trying to read. They have, like, little stories. And I want to say that, which I don't remember much, but certain areas were decorated different. I remember walking in and seeing the planes.
Yes.
The planes were great. So maybe you can tell us a little about the planes. Like, what kind of planes were those? Like,
well, the plane
that's so crazy that when you think about it.
The plane in the Louisiana Pavilion, the first building, the main building, is a C-47, and it actually flew in 2 missions on D-Day, and it flew in Operation Market Garden, which was a day drop into the Netherlands.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't really successful, and it was orchestrated by the British. They took the lead on that particular battle. But it dropped paratroopers.
Okay,
from the 82nd and the 100th. So there it is right there.
Yeah, there it is. So what is that with all the people in there for?
So I think that's recently I took that picture, and I think I posted it maybe to Facebook, or maybe I just sent it to you. That was the event for the 80th anniversary of D-Day that was at the museum.
Okay.
So, and I was there that day, and I thought it was lovely.
It is, and that's the actual plane.
Like that is an actual plane, and the museum actually purchased it off eBay.
Really?
They did, and it flew into Lakefront Airport and was dismantled, and in the middle of the night, it was brought into the museum. The front wall of the museum opens up. It opens up like windows, and that's how they get the big artifacts in.
See, and I don't remember. I mean, that sounds terrible, but I don't. I do remember the theater. We were talking about that. Maybe you can tell people a little bit, because all the kids were like, they loved that.
It's a 4D Beyond All Boundaries, and it was created by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
It was their creation, and it actually was allowed people to understand that there was a global battle going on two fronts. There was the war in the European theater and in the Pacific theater. And so I think that gives folks information that maybe didn't understand the big global picture of World War II.
See, and I didn't. We have a letter from my grandfather, my mom's dad, and he was in Africa. And I know this sounds very ignorant and stupid, but I didn't even know they were in Africa.
The battle?
Battles?
Like,
look, you can see where he wrote at the bottom. Dad pulled that picture up, but I think it says Africa, doesn't it, Dad? At the bottom?
It says, yes, it
Africa. Does. Look at that. And I thought and this is his dog tag. This is his. Isn't that amazing?
They're fabulous.
I mean, but everybody has a story. My dad's dad has a story. He was in the Navy, right, Dad?
Yes.
There he is. And he was, the reason they got him, Aunt Patricia was telling me, is because he grew up in the country and he could drive boats. And that's what he did. So everybody, did your dad?
So my dad did not. My dad was 11 in 1941.
He was 11.
11. So he remembers World War II, and he remembers more of the home front. You know, that was a big deal. Roosevelt wanted us to create the great arsenal of democracy. And so rationing began, and scrap drives, and anything you needed to do to support the troops.
Okay, and that's why our grandparents were so frugal.
Yes.
And
don't throw anything away.
They threw nothing away.
Nothing away.
I know, remember Mama's house, nothing was thrown away.
I remember well.
Nothing was thrown. I mean, but it makes sense. That's such a trauma to go through. And I know I'm going to bring this up too, and then we'll get back to the all the World War II stuff. But when I was little and I would stay at their house all the time, he would tell me stories, poor Papa, about basket cases.
Right.
You know what that meant?
No.
So he would tell me that they would line up soldiers, because he was a medic, and they would line up the soldiers in baskets with no arms and no legs. Because that's what happened. I mean, when you think of, and he would cry.
Oh, yes.
And it was horrible to hear these stories. I mean, like, I'm probably 11 or 10 hearing these stories, but he had to tell them. And it's like people don't understand how hard they fought for our freedom, and people are just so disrespectful.
Well, I think at the museum you wouldn't find too much of that. We have a lots of vets at the museum.
You do. So
we do.
Tell us some about that.
So on my Saturday team, we have 8 veterans that work with us as volunteers.
Oh, wow.
Air Force, Marine, Army,
wow.
And I think our oldest is 91.
Oh,
and,
wow.
We have a World War II vet.
Really?
Who's 99. Steve Ellis. He comes to the museum on Saturdays, and he has a table and with his artifacts and spends time with our guests.
Is this some of your guests?
This is my Saturday team.
That's your Saturday team?
That's a Christmas picture. That's the Saturday team. And let's see. Every gentleman in that picture, I think, is a vet. Maybe 1 or 2 are not.
So do they tell stories too, or do they
just help out? Well, they are not World War II vets. A lot of these vets feel like it's our responsibility, it's our honor to carry on their story. That's the mission of the museum. Tell their story. Don't let it be forgotten. It was too important. So a lot of folks, and the ladies in the picture, they've had family that has served in the military or in World War II. So there's one volunteer in the front in the black sweater seated. Mm-hmm. She has a husband, retired Navy, and 2 boys that served Navy. One is active right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there's always some type of connection. These 2 gentlemen here on the screen are my favorites. I like to try to remember them on Veterans Day. The gentleman in the red jacket, his name is Tom Blakey, and he was in the 82nd Airborne.
Oh, wow.
Dropped from that AC-47 behind the enemy lines. And the other gentleman is a Marine. His name is Bert Stolier, and he was at Iwo Jima when the flag was raised. He wasn't part of that group, but he saw it. So these two are very powerful people that I met. Impressive. That's just some more pictures of what it's like to volunteer at the museum. That gentleman in the blue shirt, he was there for the 80th anniversary. And I'll tell you what's really great about this gentleman, why I wanted this picture. So one of the new exhibits at the museum is AI, artificial intelligence, and it's oral history 2.0. And I love this for our young visitors. There are 18 different individuals interviewed, and you walk into this area, you select who you would like to know more about, and you speak into a microphone. And you ask questions, and they answer.
No way.
It is amazing. It is one of my very favorite things.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's new. The museum just never stops recreating and finding different ways.
Yeah, because they didn't have that when I know they didn't.
It's brand new.
Oh,
It is brand new. It's just in the last month, so it was fabulous. But you know, I love all that.
No, absolutely. So I know you had brought some things. So why don't you
So some things I wanted to point out about the museum,
because there's so many things, and of course I don't know all the things, and who better than you?
So you know, as a teacher, I have to have hands-on things. I have to have a lesson plan. So I have a few things.
I love that.
The reason that the museum is in New Orleans and not in Washington, D.C., and not part of the Smithsonian group is because of the Higgins Boats. They were all built here and designed here by Andrew Higgins.
Really?
Who, I have a little book.
Oh, look.
This is one of our books at the bookstore, and it's a pretty good piece of information about Andrew Higgins and the boats that won World War II.
Oh, wow.
And the Navy constantly was trying to come up with a better design, and he kept saying, I've got the boat. I designed for the swamp. I can get you on the beachhead and back off the beachhead quickly.
Oh, wow.
And so the boats were all designed, manufactured here. Well, I'm not in New Orleans anymore, but in New Orleans. And that's why the museum is there.
And I guess that's why your dad could do the boats, because he's from Raceland, right?
Well, yeah, that's not very far from where they were making some of these things, and I think he drove some sort of LCP when he was in the Navy over in the Pacific Theater. He was younger than my wife's grandfather, so he got there when the war was basically ended, but they had a lot of stuff to do. And he has some stories about riding that boat around. One time he was charged with bringing an admiral from one ship to another, and the admiral changed his mind about where he wanted to go midstream, and he redirected Dad to take him to some other ship, and the whole fleet panicked because they couldn't find the admiral.
Oh my God!
So there's some fun stories. Of course, like I say,
don't lose the admiral. It's
right,
not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
But I know there's probably a million stories that you hear, huh?
There is, and we're losing our vets so quickly now. They're all, 98, 99. So there are very few that are still with us. They, when I first started 12 years ago, we had lots more than we have now. But the stories are fabulous. And in fact, Tom Blakey's story is on one of the CBS. You can Google CBS, the Sunday morning show, did a whole piece on him.
Really?
Because he wouldn't talk about what he did, what he saw for a very long time. And he always said the World War II Museum sort of saved him.
Really?
In helping him deal with everything that happened.
I mean, I can't imagine these boys were, 18 going off to war.
Some of them 17.
Really?
Some of them 17.
Some of them,
Parents just had to sign and say,
no way.
Okay, go.
I can't imagine.
I can't either.
I can't imagine. And
even when I meet vets from anything, I always think, I can't even be without a cup of coffee and my cell phone. These guys give up so much.
They gave up
and
everything.
They still give up so much. Families and whatever they have to endure, they do it.
I know.
They do it.
That's
it's a
what's
lot.
so crazy that my parents are here because their parents came, because their dads came home.
They came home.
They came home.
That's right.
And a lot of people didn't come home.
They did not. And I was thinking about, just as a volunteer, how much my life has been enriched in the last 12 years.
Oh,
I encourage
sure.
anyone that feels like they would like to volunteer. We have volunteers that drive in from Baton Rouge, from Mandeville, from Slidell, everywhere to come to volunteer at the museum. And, you know, I went to Paris last year. I went to London this year. And I think those choices, those travel choices were impacted a lot by being a volunteer.
Oh, I'm sure.
That American Cemetery, it is amazing. The beachhead at Utah Beach, Omaha Beach.
What is that? What is that?
So
can you explain that picture some? I don't understand what that is.
So that's the beachhead where the boats and the battle happened and the invasion happened.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be reflective of the conditions and the tides coming in so when it's high tide, you don't see all of that. See, it's low tide right now.
Okay.
So it looks a little different when it's high tide.
So, and then you went, Dad, show the other picture where y'all went. I think it was in your,
So in April, we went to the Imperial War Museums in London.
Yeah, but that's so cool. You know so much and you got to visit those places and connect it all.
I know. I just drag my husband everywhere.
Yeah, but like it's so cool. You know everything. He probably loves it because you educate him about all this stuff.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a historian, but I am an enthusiast, and I love volunteering.
No, it's so interesting. It really is.
It really has been just a great pleasure to be a volunteer. I joined we have a book club.
Oh,
that's just for the volunteers.
Oh, I love that.
We read different books, you know, but it's always World War II based.
Okay.
And just that alone. So one of the books we read, The Bomber Mafia, I didn't know this, that napalm was invented at Harvard University. Right? You know,
really?
Really. And they tested it on the soccer field.
What?
Right? I know. So the things you learn.
This is crazy.
These books were fabulous. And I've learned so much, and I've made great friends.
Oh, I'm sure.
12 years with the team I'm with, and they're really good people. We do social events together, and it's nice. We all have that same common theme of supporting the museum, supporting the city.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans needs support right now.
The mission, support the mission of the museum.
Here's the mission of
tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. So I want to ask something else, too, and I know this may not be, do y'all ever at the museum talk about Pearl Harbor?
Always.
Yeah. Do y'all talk about that, too? Because, I couldn't watch the whole movie.
Yeah.
When I saw when I start crying, I mean, I can't even talk about it. It makes me cry. Because it's like you think that literally happened.
Yes.
And that's what, when you watch a movie, well, I can't watch, I'm a G girl movie. I can't, I get too upset. I mean, I don't like watching scary movies, anything like that. But that hurt my heart just to see and my gosh, these men were so brave.
Extremely brave.
Oh my gosh.
So one of the gentlemen that they highlight in that movie, Pearl Harbor, Dory Miller, he's one of the gentlemen that they have part of the train car dog tag experience where you follow his journey through the museum and you learn about him. I think he was not a gunner, but maybe on staff, and he took over and he started shooting the guns. And
oh wow,
yeah, he's fabulous. His story's fabulous. That's one of the highlights of Pearl Harbor, and that's our dog tag experience where you have a card with a chip in it that looks like a dog tag, but you follow a soldier's journey through the museum.
That is so cool. I want to take. I know. I mean, Pearl's probably too young. I don't know, but I'd love to take. I know Carter would get a lot out of it.
They do. They would. I think we have some artifacts from Paul Tibbets too.
Really,
he's one of our dog tag guys. I feel like we have one of his bomber jackets, and Paul Tibbets was part of the LSU system.
Oh, wow.
So somebody that's in my family, type in and tell me exactly what he was. I know y'all are watching. I think he was maybe president. He was involved in the LSU system at some, I don't know if he was a teacher.
Really?
Or
Who's
dean.
that again? Troy Middleton?
No, Tibbets.
Oh, Tibbets. Okay. Yeah.
And so maybe somebody in my family type in.
I know. Well,
Patrick, are you listening?
I know. Like Stormy said, it's interesting. I have a few people up there, but no, it is. It's crazy. But, you think about that, like when I watch that movie. I mean, and it's just, I know that it sounds silly, but you watch that movie, and that was the one thing that when that movie came out and we watched it at my friend Colleen's when we were in Florida years ago, and we were all just like, these guys really did that.
They did.
And it was like, it blew us all away, you know?
Now you know why Tom Brokaw wrote the book about the greatest generation. Really selfless. They
they were
selfless and
so selfless.
And the perfect title for his book. Okay, so here's some of the things I wanted to say about the museum.
Okay.
In my lesson plans.
Okay.
First of all, it's
Patrick wrote.
What did Patrick tell us?
I can't see.
I can't read it.
Okay.
I'm too far away.
Okay. It says flew the. What does it say?
Enola Gay.
It's not the Ebola Gay. It's the Enola Gay.
Enola Gay.
Enola
Yeah.
Gay. I think that's
Which and that's the I think he's a B-29 that dropped one of the bombs.
Okay, so Mom's saying that your husband's saying, what, Dad? I can't read from this far.
Tibbetts flew the plane to drop the bomb on Hiroshima.
But he was associated somehow with the LSU system.
Interesting, yeah.
I'm not sure how, but we'll go look that up.
Oh, Cindy's asking you a question, telling you to tell us who is it Paul, Dad? Paul is?
Tell us who Paul is.
I don't know what that means. Well, I mean, it's my brother. My brother.
That's who Paul is. There you go. Okay.
So here's the other things I wanted to say about the museum that I think are fabulous that
Okay.
don't get nearly enough attention.
Okay.
First of all, they really do a great job live streaming guests, authors, events, so that even if you don't make it to the museum, you could have live streamed all of the Pearl Harbor events or D-Day events. They do a wonderful job when they have guest speakers, or they do the Medal of Honor, Congressional Medal of Honor things. Everything is live streamed, and I think that's wonderful and maybe thankful part of COVID. I'm not sure. The technology's there, and so they do it. I think our education department is amazing. Amazing, amazing. We have kids traveling from schools that are in coordination with the museum. Holy Cross High School has an entire AP credit course where they visit the museum at least every 2 weeks.
Really?
They have a podcast called Tigers by the Fire, and their senior project is a podcast. They also, one of their requirements is they have to take their parents on a tour, their family, on a tour of the museum, and they have to act as the docent and take their family around the museum. It's a really great class.
That is.
A shout out to teacher Michael Orvides, who does a great job with these kids, and he takes them over to Normandy in the spring. They travel from London, kind of follow the journey from England, usually Dover, somewhere in London, and then they take either ferry over or the train over to into
Let me tell
Normandy.
you, that's brilliant. No one hated school more than me. Like, I still hate school. But if I was being taught like that,
You would love it.
I would love it.
You would love it.
I would absolutely love it.
And these kids have
That's
to
brilliant.
interview for this class because there's only so many sections of it. Of course, everyone wants to take it.
Yeah,
And
of course.
you have to have certain requirements, and you have to be accepted to be into this class. So he does a fabulous job.
That's amazing though, because I do think like I like when I go to St. Francisville a lot, and I love history now. I hated history. It's the one class when I did go to college for a little while I would not take because it was boring. But when you can like link it back to things and understand things, it's just then it opens up you love it.
It is wonderful.
Yeah.
So our education department, and even if you just plan, and so they have seminars all summer where they train history teachers, high school, college.
Oh, wow.
They do so many great things. But our travel department, here is the brochure I received recently from the travel department. And so if you think, oh, I'd love to travel and follow some of these journeys, this is the trip that my brothers and I plan to take. It is the Easy Company from London to Eagle's Nest. So it's their journey. And so the museum highlights this.
Oh my goodness.
So if you have any, and this is the newest, I think, is part of the Masters of the Air. So this is all on the museum website, but I needed to bring my hands on. My hands on stuff.
No, you cover. Definitely, you covered so many things.
So, also, if you would like to be a volunteer on this website, there is a link to send in an application to volunteer.
I bet you they always need volunteers.
Well, yes, they always do. They
Yeah.
always do. And after COVID, we had limited visitors, limited volunteers, because a lot of our volunteers, of course, are more elderly, retired.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't a healthy environment for them to be in. So I talked about travel. I talked about education. So membership. I love this idea of membership, and I don't think it gets enough credit. There's a membership for $35 for students and teachers.
Oh, really?
So I encourage folks, go get a membership. Right now in July, it will last 18 months. It goes through December of 2025.
For $35.
For $35.
That is.
For teachers and students, and even students, even at the college level, masters, PhDs, you have an
Really?
ID from a university, you can get a $35 membership. And it supports the
crazy.
museum.
Yeah.
And then in August in New Orleans is Museum Month. So there's reciprocity. There's a list of about 20 museums.
Oh, wow.
That if you have a World War II museum membership, you can go to, people get into these, like the Ogden and NOMA, the New Orleans Museum of Art. There are lists of museums you can attend.
That's crazy. I didn't even know New Orleans had that many.
It's fabulous.
I know.
It's fabulous.
I know. So much good and so many good. So I want to ask you another question. Somebody was telling me that if you got, I guess maybe the number, maybe it was you, Dad, that if you got the number that the unit that your loved one was in, that they could figure out at the museum something with that. Well, I don't.
So the museum
Does that
offers a
sound
couple
familiar?
of things.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So the guest services area offers. A lot of folks come in and say, "Look, my dad didn't talk about it. My
Okay,
mom was
yeah.
there. They didn't talk about it." We have a packet that we hand out with links through Veterans Affairs and
Okay.
just different resources to help people find out more. But also, if it's something that they specifically are looking for information, our curatorial team for a fee will do all the research for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and that's what I think we were talking about. And I think that's because they didn't talk much about it.
No.
I mean, my sugar papa, my dad's dad, never said a word to me about it. I mean, we talked about other things, but never. And my other grandfather talked about it, but he was so distraught
It was tough.
for what he saw. Like, it was awful.
It was awful.
And so it was like he would start talking and he would start crying, and it was like, so sad.
Well, I think for a lot of our vets, in 4 years, they lived a life of things that they should not have been seeing.
No one.
No one. But they wanted to put it behind them and start living the life.
A new life, yeah. They were
that
coming,
they went.
yes.
But they battled for that life. It was important to them, and they were ready to live that life. And the GI Bill came from World War II. And
I did not know that.
A lot of vets were able to go to college, go to training.
I
from
did
the
not know that.
And not just World War II, but that's when it started. But so even now, the GI Bill, go to college.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
National Guard, pay
But
for college.
And they didn't get all the help, like psychiatric help that people can get now. Like, I
They
can't.
didn't know enough, I think.
They didn't know.
They think they didn't
yeah.
know. I think now there's so much more. So many more groups, too. So one of the things that the volunteers do at the museum is Soaring Valor, which is the Gary Sinise Foundation. They fly in World War II vets with their families, and they stay at the Higgins Hotel. They are assigned a specific volunteer for their 2-day visit here. That the
that's
volunteer
so
stays with them
nice.
the whole day.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it is
yeah,
nice.
It's respectful.
It's wonderful.
No, but it's respectful.
wonderful.
They deserve that respect too.
They do. And the folks that tour these veterans are really valedictorians
they
of the
are.
volunteer corps. They're fabulous.
I think about us, even my own self, like we're just not made like they were.
I'm not. I'd like to think I was, but I'm not.
No. I'm just what I'm saying. Like they went through so many horrific things just so we can now have all the things that we have now. And it just, when you start thinking about that, and I start thinking of my grandfathers and what they gave up for all of us, it's just, and how ungrateful our country is. You know, some of our country's very ungrateful.
Yes.
And it's sickening because they lived a horror that no one should ever have to live.
You know, I see some things at the museum that are very hopeful to me and very positive to me.
You do see that.
Because we have a lot of military involvement.
So
and
good.
it's really good to see that. And even how some of the folks that come in, they're different. I cannot remember if it is Portugal. We had a group come in where they come and they train with some of our military on how to be better, to be trained better.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So,
and that's what's so great about this is to have that and to remember. I hope it never goes away.
I think by being there, I get to see the positive.
You get to see it.
I get to be a part of that, and it is wonderful to and to be able to come here today and to share it.
No, it is.
That it is
yes.
it is, because a lot of times it's easy to look at the negative, and it's important to remember there's always another side to the coin, and it is wonderful.
It is. No.
So at the world on that D-Day celebration, we had 2 current members of the 82nd Airborne.
Oh, wow.
So they were there to represent all those men that jumped out of those planes.
Oh my gosh.
Fearless, right? Jumping out of a plane.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm a wimp.
No, me too.
I'm a wimp.
I always ask this question to myself: if you were going to be drafted, but you could volunteer and select your branch, which branch would you be in?
Which one would you?
Well, I don't swim and I don't really like boats, but I had heard that if you were on a ship, you could get coffee every morning. There was always hot coffee. So I thought, well, I'll just have to wear my life jacket all the time and drink my coffee, because otherwise,
oh my gosh,
I don't think I would do well as a Marine or in the I don't know, Army. I don't know.
I don't know what I would have been good at. I mean, I have no idea. I would.
If you like coffee, join the Navy.
You know what?
That's what I can tell you.
I would cook for everybody. I'd be a
There
cook.
you go. All the branches need
I'd be a
cooks.
cook. I would be a cook.
All the branches need cooks.
Because I wouldn't want to be a nurse.
No.
You know, I mean, that's so scary. You know,
I don't think I could do that.
I don't think I could either. I panic.
But you know what? I bet people
But I
don't
could
think they
feed
could do things. But when you have to do it,
absolutely.
you do make that choice and you do it.
100%. It's amazing. Like, you know, it's just like you don't think a lot of things you can do, and then when you're faced with it, you have to.
You have to do it.
No, and that's
you find a way.
Absolutely, and that's why I like having. I want Carter and Pearl to know about this. You know, I want them.
It's
you just
important.
want all the generations to keep going with this. So
It's important.
It is. It
So,
really is.
in saying that, let me say this.
Paul Tibbetts' son worked at Our Lady of the Lake Hospital.
Oh,
There's the connection.
thank you.
Who said that?
That's a Poche that said
It
that.
sounds like that looks like Larry Poche.
J.L. Poche, 82.
That looks like Larry Poche said that. So, one of the 2 other things I said, okay, I've got my information. I want to say a big, wonderful thank you to the volunteer supervisors.
Oh.
We have 3 our supervisors, and you know they put up with about 300 different personalities, and they're very good to all of us.
Aww.
So I want to make sure that I recognize those folks that really make it a joy to volunteer at the museum.
Absolutely.
They really, really do. They make it wonderful, and the reason people want to come back is part of those.
No, and thanks to you being a volunteer, like everybody who's volunteering, because it, like, you know so much, and when somebody comes in there, you can really help them. That's great to have that. I'm sure when I went in there, when we went on the field trips, I'm sure we were asking volunteers questions.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know the answers the kids were asking me questions. and I'm trying to hurry up and read, but I don't know the answer. So you're pulling these volunteers. Hey,
and mostly don't lose the kids.
Yeah, don't lose the
Don't lose
kids.
the kids.
Okay, there's another one. I'm sorry. Nan, what happened to the PT boat?
Oh, great question, Cindy Reynolds. Thank you very much. So PT 305, which was our touring, a boat that was restored to actually be a traveling exhibit. Once COVID happened, they needed it. It just didn't work out, and then it was exposed to, I think, Hurricane Ida. So the museum made the decision to bring it back into the museum. It's actually in the Restoration Pavilion, and it will open this year for visitors and guests. They have constructed some type of decking over the entire top of it.
Wow.
So you can look into it.
Oh, that's so cool.
When they made it the traveling exhibit, they had to bring it up to code navigation.
That's huge, though, a traveling exhibit. And look how big that is.
Well, they've removed all the things that weren't authentic to the 1940s PT boat. And so now it's restored to its original state, and you can visit it when you visit the museum.
So it's there now.
It's there now, but it's not open. It'll probably, if I had to guess, they like to open things right around Veterans Day.
Okay.
There's a big gala, and they bring a big crowd in, and it's right before Thanksgiving holiday. So I would bet we'll see that in the fall.
Perfect. No. But anyway, is there anything else that you wanted to get to?
I'm trying to look because there's so much.
I know.
If you are interested in service hours, even as a high school student, maybe,
that's a good idea.
or a college student. I worked with a young girl who actually is in ROTC Air Force, and she went to Lusher, but she comes back every summer home, and she volunteers all summer.
I love that.
During
and that's such good service hours.
It's great service hours
because you're learning something too.
And so it's a great way if you need service hours for school, or if you just are in an ROTC program. Come to the museum.
I love that.
Learn a little more, and I think that's it. I think I've covered everything on my on my lesson plan.
Your list.
Yes.
So, Dad, what are the questions? I know you may have a few questions.
Well, I was wondering, Janet, if you ever got to meet the founders of the museum.
Oh, that's
Nick. So Stephen Ambrose had passed away before I started volunteering, so no, I did not have an opportunity to meet him, but I did have a chance to watch his lectures on DVD at the University of New Orleans. His lectures, we have a copy of that, and I have seen Nick Mueller, but I'm just a volunteer. I'm not one of those folks, but I will tell you this, the president, Stephen Watson, I have met him. He is awesome, wonderful, tremendous, and he interacts with the volunteers quite often.
Okay.
He's a really good guy, and also his son is at Holy Cross High School.
Oh, cool.
Which is probably why that AP class is there too.
You're probably right.
So that might have something to do with it.
Absolutely.
I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to know that there's a big and great website out there. It's www.national.museum.org, and it's a fabulous website and has all kind of great stuff on it. It's got all the mission and stuff, but it's got many tabs to go find a lot of what's happened at the museum, stuff about the war, and a lot of other helpful information that for students and teachers that Janet talked about as well. There's plenty out there on that to help them use it in the classroom, I guess, huh, Miss Janet?
To use in the classroom, the digital library is also got a section of oral histories, and there's a section of just photos.
Oh, wow.
So if you're just researching a particular boat or a battle or a unit, you can look for it on our digital website, in our digital library.
Way cool.
Photo library.
That's great.
Well, thank you for being here.
How did we do?
We did great. But thank you for coming. I know today we have a 4th of July parade in Kenilworth, and made it so hard for you to come. So I do appreciate it.
It was fun.
I think she came all the way from New Orleans, right? You still living in New Orleans?
Metairie.
Metairie. She came all the way from Metairie, and just to come do this for us tonight.
Well,
So,
yep,
thank you.
indeed. Thank you, Miss Janet.
Thank
And
you.
you know, to do it for the museum and to do it for all those veterans,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
for all those
Absolutely.
guys. If I can, tell the story,
That's right.
support the mission.
Right.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, and she gets to revisit my old bedroom.
Yep.
That's the scariest part of the day.
Well, I want to thank
Thanks, folks.
Wendy and Patricia and Andrew and Darren and Patrick and Cindy and Stormy and all the people, Allie, everybody that weighed in here from either the Facebook or the YouTube. Thanks for following the show tonight. We're so happy to have you here. Shark Week is next week. Are you kidding me?
We need to do Shark Week. That's my favorite week.
Me too.
That would be cool, huh?
I'm having a Shark Week party.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am.
Oh my God.
I love Shark Week.
I love Shark Week. And you know what? Troy and I at night, like most husbands and wives have the thing that they watch. We love Dr. Oakley, the Yukon vet.
The vet.
Stop.
Yeah.
Do y'all like it too?
I love her, but mostly I watch Dr. Poole with my granddaughter,
Yeah.
Maggie. I love to take my kids. You know, I'm a teacher.
I know.
My granddaughter, we watch Dr. Poole and Dr. Oakley, but
I love the vet shows.
there's a picture, one of my kids took it, I think. My 3 grandchildren are watching Shark Week on Nat
Shark
Geo
Week.
Live. They're all just all about the sharks.
Love Shark Week.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
gosh.
big event, obviously.
Oh, gosh. Oh, Miss Marie
Yeah,
made a
right.
comment. Aw.
Okay, well, look, we're going to have a show next week. We have the wedding planner.
Yes, the big wedding
The
planner.
big wedding planner next week. So stay tuned for that coming next week. And I wanted to point out to people, we had a show last week on dementia, and I found this book online. It's brand new. It's called Reversing Alzheimer's. So I bought the book so I can learn something about this. And it's all about using a holistic method as well as the pharmaceuticals that we have, but trying to do something with dementia. So I'll read this and report back to everybody when I get some information from it.
And it's Nancy next week, Dad. That's her name,
Nancy?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nancy's going to be here next week.
Nancy Faucier, right.
Yeah, she's the big wedding planner in Baton Rouge, so can't wait to have her.
And the last message, God bless our veterans on the happy 4th of July tomorrow from Miss Catherine. So y'all have a great holiday, and
Happy 4th, Stormy.
happy 4th to everybody. Okay. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
All right.